I just watched a video by a guy uh, who spoke on the topic of nice guys finishing last and why you should not, well, he referred to them as good guys, but basically why you should not be a nice guy, and that in this world it's basically eat or be eaten. And I have to agree with that 100%. That in fact, as the old saying goes, nice guys and gals do indeed finish last, especially when it comes to competition. Anything having to do with competition, where you're competing with others for resources, attention, time, whatever. Anything that is competitive, and that especially includes business, and even if you're working just a job, a 9-to-5 job, nice guys and gals do indeed finish last. I've learned this the hard way after a couple of decades of being screwed over, and I can't count the number of times where I was told as I was being screwed over, or after I'd been screwed over, lied to, deceived and all that, had promises made, and then the person who made the promises to me in terms of either receiving a promotion or a pay raise or any of that, a promotion with official title and status and everything. So many times as I was getting screwed over, the answer was always, well, it's just business. And it's like, right, it is just business. And it took me decades, years and years and years, to come to the conclusion, to finally admit or accept. I mean, I'd already come to the conclusion, but to finally accept and stop fighting it, stop denying the truth, and just to accept and embrace the reality that it is a dog-eat-dog world. Nice guys and gals do indeed finish last, and that if you want to get anywhere in this life, you must be absolutely ruthless. You've got to be ruthless. Hey, she's not bad looking. Nice looking gal over here. But you got to be absolutely ruthless. And it is basically eat or be eaten when it comes to competition. And business is definitely competition. That's why I say that your coworkers are not your friends, they are your competitors. And if you want to get anywhere in the business world or in life in general, you have got to be ruthless, and you have got to be willing to, basically, as this other guy was saying, eat others for lunch. That doesn't mean that you're a predator on innocent people who are not in your way or doing you harm or anything like that. It's not saying go out and be a serial killer and harm innocent people and stuff. But it is saying that whenever you're in competition, whenever you're in competition for anything, you've got to be cutthroat. You've got to be ruthless. Because if you're not screwing other people over, you're the one being screwed over. You have got to be ambitious and absolutely ruthless, especially in business. That's one of my greatest regrets in life up to this point, is that it took me so long to finally accept that fact and realize that turning the other cheek, loving your enemies, and doing good to those who take advantage of you and abuse you and all that, will get you screwed over. It will absolutely get you screwed over. The meek and the humble do not inherit the earth. I'm sorry, they don't. At least up to this point. And I truly wish that life were different, and that it wasn't the case that the strong rule over the weak, and that the ambitious and ruthless dominate the meek and unassuming and the naive. And as I've also heard people say, don't hate the player, hate the game. Well, and that's true. I didn't invent the game. I didn't set it up that way, but I finally, after years of being screwed over and walked on and treated like a doormat, and yes, if you present yourself to the world, you will be treated like a doormat. You will be walked on. You will be taken advantage of. And as you're getting walked on and taken advantage of, you'll be lucky if you're even given any notice, any just acknowledgement of your existence. And it'll probably be, well, that's just business. Nothing personal, it's just business. And believe me, the people with whom you were competing, they will not only have no compunctions whatsoever about screwing you over and taking advantage of you, but they will not lose any sleep over it. They will not hesitate. And even the people you think are your friends, when it comes to business, there are no friends in business. They will backstab you and take advantage of you and screw you over and have all sorts of justifications for why they're doing it or why they did it. And they will feel no remorse for doing so. This world, the more time goes on, it's always been like that to a degree. But nowadays, as time goes on here in 2024 and beyond, there are more narcissists and psychopaths and people out here who will just, there is no love out here in the real world when it comes to competition. Actually, with people that, people with whom you are not in competition, typically, those ones, but even don't trust them 100%, because you may not think you're in competition with them, but that doesn't mean that they don't think that they're in competition with you. So yeah, and by the way, there's a book that I would suggest to anybody watching this video, a book I would highly suggest reading. Is called Eat or Be Eaten, and I think it's by a guy, an author named Phil Porter. I think that's the guy's name, but I know the title is Eat or Be Eaten. Very good book. Talks about the corporate world and the realities of life out here, in competition and all that. And not only talks about the realities of it, but also how to protect yourself and how to become the predator, the corporate predator. And this other guy who did this video, I'm going to have to look his name up and see if maybe I'll include a link below this video to his video, because he's right on the money. He was saying that you have to be a lion. You have to be out here eating. And if you're not the one eating, you're the one being eaten. And that is so true. Life is tough out here. And it is a competition, whether you like it or not. And you're playing the game. As long as you are alive, you are engaged in the warfare of business. And yes, business is war. And if you're not dominating and controlling the battlefield, you are losing. I mean, there are so many metaphors for it. But if you're not dominating and winning on the battlefield of business and in competition in life in general, you are losing. It's like the old saying, if you're in a room and you don't know who the sucker is, then you're the sucker. I've heard that one quite a lot growing up. And but because I was raised Catholic, and because I was, and nothing against Catholics and all that, but because I was raised Catholic, from the time I was a little kid, I was taught, turn the other cheek, love your enemies, be loving, pray for those who abuse you, do good to those who use you, and pray for those who curse you, and overcome evil with good. So that set me up, and that's why it has taken me years, a couple of decades, not to realize that in the real world that kind of thinking and mentality will get you screwed over and taken advantage of and stepped on and all that, because the world is a large battlefield. It's a large arena for competition, for resources and opportunities. That kind of thinking will screw you over. It will set you up for failure out here in the real world. And so because I was indoctrinated with that from, as far back as I can remember, it took me quite a long time not to realize the reality of the way things are, but to accept and embrace it and say, all right, I've got to be, when it comes to competition, I've got to be the predator. I've got to be the apex, the number one, the alpha, so to speak. And that's what alpha means. Alpha means first, the top dog. You've heard the saying alpha and omega, the first and the last. Alpha means first. It means you're the top dog, the leader, the one dominating. And when it comes to business or love, all is fair in love and war. And business is war, as the Japanese say. You've got to be the top dog, otherwise you're getting screwed over, you're getting eaten, and you will waste years of your life wondering why everybody else is getting ahead at your expense, and you constantly being fucked over and getting nowhere fast. And that's not a good place to be, I know. And as I was saying, it's taken me years not to realize that fact. I immediately realized it as soon as I got out into the real world when I turned 18. And even before that, my childhood was very much a series of contrasts and being taught one thing, but then being told one thing, but then being taught by reality hitting me in the face by the way people treated me, that the reality was completely different. And but it took me decades to finally accept that the world is a battlefield, all is fair in love and war, and business is war, And that includes not just commerce, business as in commerce, like investing, working a job, running a company, anything, corporate having to do with making money and stuff. But personal business, even your personal business. If somebody's getting in your way, you better crush them, squash them. And because if they're getting in your way, they're hampering your progress, and they are potentially harming you, harming your interests, whether they're doing it intentionally or not. And they will cause you to waste massive amounts of time, and you will end up basically being, a loser. That's how you lose in life. That's my biggest regret in life, is the times I was too nice to people with whom I should have been absolutely ruthless, and the times that I took shit from people when I shouldn't have taken crap from them. So yeah, nice guys and gals do finish last. And when it comes to business, love and war, and business is war, don't be a nice guy or a nice gal. Be an absolutely ruthless prick. Because you have to be. Not because you want to be, but because you have to be. You've got to. So that you just don't waste decades of your life, or just even years or months or weeks of your life. And don't, have no doubt in your mind that the other people with whom you are in competition, whether you realize it or not, or whether they realize it or not, they will have no problems eating you for lunch, taking your lunch money. And so you need to be the lion rather than the gazelle. You've got to be out there doing the hunting and the eating and doing whatever it takes to get ahead. Again, don't do anything illegal, and don't be, I'm not saying be a predator on people who are totally innocent and who are doing nothing to you. I'm not saying go out there and be an absolute prick to people who are in no way in competition with you, or who are just innocent people, like don't become a serial killer and shit like that. You're not that kind of predator. But you've got to stand up for yourself, and you've got to go for the, be bold and go for the gold. Reach for your chips, and when it comes to business, you got to take the other guy's chips too, because he's trying to take yours. So I guess that's all. And I'm going to go in there and do my workout. So I guess that's it.